workshop committee. So are we, yeah, we're recording. So I'm going to call this meeting to order. Would I be out of bounds before that if I just had everyone sort of like introduce themselves and say the one great thing that happened during this summer? I know you have a lot of CTE updates, but more like personal, I guess you're professional too. I think I'd be fine, right? Robert's the warrior. I think I should be fine. Yeah.
It's a committee.
Yeah. Yeah, we're doing, right? So just going bang down. So Travis Escobar, chair of the CTE committee, vice president of the school board. One really cool thing I did during the summer was go to Toronto. It was kind of like a random trip to Toronto, and it was a great time. I definitely want to go back. Really clean city, lots of stuff to do. Got to see a Toronto Blue Jays game. They have a beautiful stadium. Puts kind of Red Sox to shame, to be honest with you. And yeah, it was a really great trip. So Niagara Falls, that was a really awesome thing to do. Never thought about that. And also, there's a difference between the view on the American side compared to the Canadian
So
side.
much better on the Canadian side.
Yeah, I had no idea there was so much of a separation. And quick flight was a great trip. Other than that, the summer was a blur. How about we go this way?
Chiara, school board coordinator. I really didn't do too much this summer. I had a boring summer.
You're right there.
It rained all summer.
Judy Valentine, principal PCTA. Same thing I wrote for some.
Oh, come on, no cookouts, no like birthday celebrations.
Only
nothing like
one,
that.
my birthday, which
Your
was
birthday, okay. There you
I
go.
took time off, but
Okay.
So Mr. Puello, I am the assistant principal in newcomers. Like, ladies that preceded me, we were just working, more work. So,
Okay, a lot of grinding. Now I feel bad for saying I went on a Toronto trip.
James Scott, I lived vicariously through others' vacations.
not mine this
I
summer.
got a couple nice beach weekends in with the family.
Nice. Well, you got a favorite beach?
You go down Vine Shores a couple times during the summer.
I'm Andrea, I'm the school board policy advisor. This summer, me and my friend got like this coffee pass. So in the month of July, we went to like 40 different coffee shops in Rhode Island to kind of pick the best.
That's long one day.
So no, I think our most was 5 in a day though. So it was a lot, but it was super fun. It took us to a bunch of places in the state we don't really go. So that's great.
So just so I'm hearing correctly, it was coffee shops in
Rhode Island.
Rhode Island. Do you have like a top 3 favorite?
Um,
Oh yeah, just take a seat.
And put a handout over there next to Judy.
Okay.
Wherever you want to sit, Taylor, something, wherever.
We're sharing positives about our summer, Joe.
The one that I voted #1 and ended up winning the competition just opened in Pawtucket. It's called Seed Cafe.
Sea Cafe in Pawtucket. Okay. We got everything going on, yeah.
George Matuk, I'm on the school board, and I'm on the building committee, which is not a school board committee, it's a school district committee, and this one as well. And I, as a person who spent the summers growing up on the Jersey Shore, I fulfilled a lifelong dream and saw Bruce Springsteen at Gillette Stadium a couple weeks ago this summer, and it was amazing.
Nice.
Brett Dickens, CTE director. We had fabulous summer programs throughout the city this year for CTE. On a personal note, my son is a tennis player, and I just followed him around to tournaments. He had a fabulous summer, and I'm excited to hopefully we won sports. So we're starting the recruiting process with him, so that's exciting.
I'm on the wrong side.
You want to just introduce yourself, one, good thing you want to share that happened during the summer for yourself.
All right, I'm Joe Kapop. I'm the director of the apprenticeship program for the New England Region Laborers Union. I'm also the co-chair for the Building Trades Apprenticeship Committee. Work was busy this summer.
You've arrived.
A lot of,
Destination is on your
I
right.
made it, sorry. Lot of chasing kids around. I have freshman twins that just started high school girls this year. I have a sophomore girl, high school, and all playing sports and running around like crazy.
This is the first time I believe we've met in person, just Travis Escobar, just chair of CTE committee. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely, sorry I was late.
No, you're good. And with that, we'll look at the agenda and do approval of the agenda. So I would ask for a motion to approve the agenda. Anyone, don't be shy.
Motion made.
Motion, and then be a second. So
Second the motion.
second. Any discussion on the agenda? No discussion. All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. Abstention. Motion passes. Approval of the minutes for June 15th, 2023. Is the minutes also?
They're on the ESV.
Oh, okay. So it's not this now. Any motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion on the minutes? No discussion. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, abstention, motion passes. So discussion on, so we need to talk about a little bit about this, the construction of the agenda. And I guess we will recite a little bit what I view of the CTE committee. I view the CTE committee as a workshop committee to support obviously CTE programs, but I think sort of raise awareness of CTE, and I think long-term really look to get more investment to help expand all these CTE programs in the city, but also in the state. So that's how I view the work of the CTE committee. I stated the first meeting pre-summer, I think that was in June, before the first start of summer, that last strategic plan that we had around CTE programs was in 2016. And I think in terms of advocacy for what we want to do around CTE, I think having a strategic plan, knowing that funding programs could shift, also changing workforce actively. I think we should have stuff on paper to guide elected officials, not only in the city, but across the state, in terms of what we would want to see to expand CTE programs, not only for high schools, but also middle school as well. So for the agenda items, I wanted us to talk about sort of like a SWOT analysis. They talk about what's going well, our strengths, maybe some weaknesses, opportunities that we look at this committee and programs going forward, threats. So just a traditional SWOT analysis. Basically, I would say is like a conversation amongst this table. Brett has already shared some thoughts as well. Discussion on the student CTE survey. In my mind, I would love to get sort of the pulse of our student population around CTE, and maybe even have that sort of a yearly sort of survey. So I'll be asking your opinions in terms of like questions we could be asking students. I really want to get some either successful data points that we can sort of share among those students, but also hear from our student population in terms of what we could be doing better for them around CTE programs. And then policy goals for 2023, 2024. So we can craft policies in the CTE committee to help support our programs, but this will also go to a policy committee, official school board policy committee, whatever work we do here, whether it's crafting policies, amending policies, that would go to the school board policy committee. So we would sort of serve as a subcommittee for that, but we would be sort of a workshop committee. Any questions on that? I figured I'd set the tone in terms of these three agenda items, yes.
So I apologize for not knowing this, but does the turnaround action plan have any specific goals or requirements related to CTE that we should know about and take as part of our mission in this committee?
Yeah. There is a data around the number of students that earn either dual enrollment credit or CTE credential upon graduation. So it's actually a credential bundle, not necessarily a credential. Explain that.
And are we, so we're, is that something that we're tracking and reporting back to the board? Like, where we would, because that would seem like something that, like, when, Travis would do his CTE, kind of like review, at the board meeting, that subject of how we're doing according to the action plan, seems to be pretty relevant.
Yeah, the
Conversation.
breakout that we need probably is to break out new enrollment from credentials. But yes, we are tracking it. And you'll see the data in here too. We have the percentage of students that we provide computer status. So we're tracking it. But in the turnaround action plan, we are lumped in with all kids that are doing dual enrollment. And I think that we should separate those two things out.
They have for it. So wanted to increase the percentage of PPSD students who graduate with college credit, AP credit, or a CTE credential. So this kind of is packed in with that.
And AP too. Yeah.
So the target is 34. The target is 69%, and the baseline is 34%. So this is the original plan. What you commence is when you get the current number, which I think is in the update. So
Yeah, that's a great flag though.
Yeah,
It was a great
I think it's a good plan.
But I think having the one item also shows me that, there's much more, right? There's much
Yeah,
more
right,
that we're
right.
doing
It's not that
around CTE,
robust.
so,
Yeah.
No, that was a great flag. Any other questions on the agenda item before we go on? I just want to make sure. All right, so we'll go to 4.1 and I'll leave it off to Brett.
So I think it makes sense, just given that people are coming from different perspectives, to kind of walk you through this document. And then, like, this SWOT analysis that I did was a really quick and dirty, like, let me just get some things on paper. But I think I would love to hear what other people in the room think after you hear sort of what our objectives are, what we've already done, and then we could kind of commentate on the SWOT. So the SWOT is very quickly done. I think the greatest weakness that we have is, PCTA needs to be doubled. We turn away 350 kids a year in the ninth grade over there. And the biggest threat is we are built, like, we're kind of a victim of our success. We're adding new programs, and the Perkins allocation that is given to this district is not based on the number of CTE students. It's based on a formula that takes into account primarily the percentage of students on free and reduced lunch. So we're not going to go up in Perkins funding even though we add more CTE students. So that's the biggest problem that we're starting to face because of our success. So these are our biggest objectives. And I'm going to go through really quickly because there's a lot here, but I want to make sure that everyone knows kind of where we are. So number one objective is developing new RIDE-approved CTE programs. When I started here in 2020, I was told that my charge was we cannot meet the demand at PCTA. We have 9 high schools. We need to have high-quality programs throughout the district. So we have the firefighter academy at Central High School, which is 99% this man's effort and a very successful effort to build that pipeline. We're in our second cohort. It is amazing just to see that we are going to diversify the fire department in Providence with students from Central. So that's one program that's just amazing. We added 3 healthcare pathways at Alvarez. You have not seen any graduates yet because the oldest students are sophomores. We do have 3 pathways over there. I would say that it looks like 90% of the students from their assessment, Alvarez's assessment, are going to be in the CNA pathway and not as much interest in EMT and community healthcare worker. Some of that is awareness. We all know what nurses are. Some kids don't know what a community healthcare worker is. So, some of it is just building awareness, and that's why we don't ask students to pick until the end of their sophomore year which of those pathways they want to follow. That program's off to an amazing start. So we're really excited about it. It is a redesigned school. It's become part of the theme of that school. And it was a glaring absence, even under John Hopkins and other consulting firms that came into Providence saying, how do you live in this city with this much healthcare and not have your own healthcare pathways? We have newly approved CS pathway at Mount Pleasant. Mount Pleasant is also a redesigned school that is focused on early college. So we have opportunities for students to earn college credit at URI, at RIC, at CCRI while they are at Mount Pleasant. So it's a nice segue into their redesigned plan and their relationship, their strengthening relationship with Rhode Island College. And like healthcare, the P-TECH program, which used to be housed at PCTA, is now at EQ and has 3 options. And when I say like healthcare, we let students go 2 years, learn about technology before they decide which of these 3 pathways they want to pursue. So that's goal number 1.
Can I just ask about Mount Pleasant? Is that program to commence after renovation, or is it commencing?
No, it's starting now.
It is
Yeah.
starting now.
They've had a CS4RI pathway there for a number of years. This just kind of gives them a better stature and more opportunity to expand that offering. But it is not at all impacted by whatever decisions are made about Mount Pleasant.
Okay, and since Mount Pleasant hasn't been designed yet, is there an opportunity to do more, CTE programs in Mount Pleasant? Right, I don't really know what's involved in.
So one thing that I think is really exciting about Mount Pleasant, and I think it will come up later, but I'll address it now, is that we're thinking very broadly about the pre-engineering umbrella. We are working with Polaris, CCRI, and Electric Boat on the manufacturing and industry, and the number of job openings in the state for manufacturing. So concurrently, we have a discussion going with CCRI about identifying a cohort of sophomores that would complete the advanced manufacturing certificate at CCRI over their junior and senior year. So what we're trying, actually next week, we're taking that group of kids and lots of kids throughout the city to the Advanced Manufacturing Day at Farm Fresh RI. And we're gonna talk to their parents about, the sophomore parents, about enrolling in that pathway, spending one day a week starting in the fall of their junior year at CCRI and graduating with that certificate, which then would lead directly to employment, or they could stay at CCRI and get the associate. So that's one really strong partnership. We're also talking to Electric Boat about maybe a machining pathway at Mount Pleasant under the umbrella of pre-engineering. We're not adding a whole new program, but pre-engineering, as Judy well knows, it's a very difficult field to qualify for a bachelor's program, right? And so we want to make sure that, and whether students want to do the 4-year engineering degree or not is also, we got a lot of stamina and interest in the field. So we want to make sure that there's another pathway under that umbrella towards manufacturing. So Polaris has been at the table with us in CCRI and now Rhode Island College, and Electric Boat obviously has a vested interest in creating that machining pathway. So that's under discussion specifically for Mount Pleasant. All right, so this is our enrollment. The reason that you don't see the SY24 numbers is that, this is on page 2, I'm sorry, is that the PCTA, we know the numbers, but Mount Pleasant, Central, Hope, they're still recruiting freshman students that have just come into the high school into the CTE pathways. So I like to wait to that traditional October 1st and then run the numbers on CTE. So we will have those growth numbers at the next meeting. But from SY22 to 23, we saw an 11% increase in CTE enrollment across the district. So George, to your original question, the way that CTE, and this is Providence CTE, looks at metrics is that we classify our graduates as gold, silver, or bronze. A bronze student in CTE is a student that participates in a program but doesn't meet the state standard. Either they don't do all 3 courses, they might start their senior year, or they might not get the credential that is assigned to their program. A silver student does 3 things that are approved by the CTE Board of Directors in the state. They complete the 3-course sequence, they complete 80+ hours of work-based learning, and they get whatever credential is assigned to their program. So those credentials vary depending on the program, obviously, and they kind of vary in rigor. In some programs like welding, it's almost impossible to be a completer. There's so many different welding certs that are in that standard. This credential is getting an invitation into the labor's union. Teacher Academy is passing the parapro, so they vary, but like we track them and we track them on Skyward, and then they go into eRide, and that's I think the data that you're asking is what RIDE is reporting. Sometimes it's a bundle, so in HVAC you actually have to get a combination of 3 different credentials. In other programs it's 1. So we track those credentials, they're all flagged with RIDE, either it's a bundle or it's a single credential. So this data that we have is 4 years of the percentage of students that are gold, that are silver, that are bronze. Take in mind what I just said, the qualifications for gold, silver, bronze vary by program. If I come back to you in a year and 99% of our students are gold, then we probably need to up the gold standard. The gold standard is something that is determined by the instructors in that program in consultation with their industry advisors. So we hope that Joe would be at the table with our Gen Con instructors determining like what exceeds the state standard. If the state standard is X, then what are the things that we want to see our graduates also have to be gold? When I talk to the CTE instructors, I tell them that at the end of 2025, we want to be at 80% of our students in silver or gold, but we don't want to be 79 and 1 because then we probably need to raise the gold standard, right? So we're working on that, and we're working on calibrating it across programs. So this is our data for silver and gold. Every instructor has an outcome tracker, and in that outcome tracker, we have the student's name, we have all the credentials they've earned, we have every hour of work-based learning that they've ever done. We have what I call the sort of standard credentials like OSHA, CPR, first aid, we track everything. So any data that we want, we can gather. I've been actually asking the new executive director of data if we could talk, because I need some help aggregating the data across all programs. So we have fabulous program level data that exceeds what RIDE asks us for. Questions on that? Travis, I'm going too fast or too slow. To me, the biggest priority is on the next page. How do we create the direct pipelines to high wage, high growth positions? So we had what I would consider a fabulous career signing day in June, where we honored 83 students who had offers in their CTE program in high wage, high growth industries. So we were able, Electric Boat came, Joe came, Lincoln Carpenters came, we had employers there, we treated it like a little bit like an NCAA signing. The kids came up, they signed their paper, the industry representative gave them a certificate, and we honored them. I hope that we come back to you and say, and I hope you're all there, but I hope we come back and say we had 160 students this year. We have a high bar. It's a really difficult time of year with graduation, but it's also a difficult time of year for the employers because some of them haven't fully vetted our students. So, but we wanted to honor them before they graduated, and we wanted to make sure that they had their own ceremony because a lot is done in the district for those students that get college scholarships and other things. We want to make sure that we hold these students up to that same level. And
We should have that on National Signing Day.
that's too early. That's the problem. Like Joe and Building Futures and other employers said, we're not ready by May 1st. Unless National Signing Day comes a little bit later.
Well, I know.
So what Judy's saying is there is a National Signing Day with Skills USA.
No, colleges.
Yeah, but they sponsor it. Skills USA. But yeah, it's for college, because kids have signed their college letters by
Right,
May
right,
1st,
right.
but they haven't, we got feedback from employers that they weren't ready to announce who is in. So that's tough. But anyway, we will continue to track those positions someday. For anyone who's listening, I would like to have some kind of a position within this district where we could track our alums because it would help us place students in internships, but it would also show the tremendous value. We need to figure out who's where 5 years from now model that we're making, we see the colleges doing that, and we need to start doing that, because we need to tell our story. And this is where it matters, it's the most important objective from my point of view.
Question on there, and, right, like getting a staff position, this year, particularly for that, right?
It's not gonna
But I think there's something we could do, whereas, maybe we partner with the communications department and say, hey, we want to share positive stories of successful alumni that went through CTE. So we put on social media, we put out who these companies we work with, and say, hey, if you're a graduate of EPSD, CTE committee, and you want to share your story, please give your information. So we could at least start, one, collecting the database,
Right.
and then two, giving, there's unfortunately a lot of negativity that will come out of PTSD, but I think part of our role is to share a lot of the great things that happen. So, I see that's very like maybe low bar that we can at least start writing at that.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely something we could do. I also think if we had a university partner that was looking to place interns, like some of this is working the phones and working social media, just contacting people, finding out where the kids are, and that could be a college or graduate students, and it helps us put that together. Because, I love the stories, but I also would like to get income data, some tangible data collected so that we can tell the story of the high wage, high growth positions that we're creating.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah.
We do it within our organization now, currently, with people that come through the organization that really have come out the other side of the apprenticeship world. And we do in our update magazine every quarter, there's an apprentice or a recent graduate, like where are they now? And we use a lot of them to come back to the schools, and they come and talk to their peers. Well, those are the stories that help get more traction for sure, when you see the results. Even if the numbers, I'll always talk about the quantity, but when the quality is there and you have people that you're changing generations, when they get a career opportunity, to throw it out there is definitely beneficial.
So,
I think we could rope them in with, get their information with stories first, and then, ask for more
Right.
help.
Yeah, I mean, there are fellows and there are grad students that are looking for projects, and so, that would be also something to do. This summer program was kind of written in the middle of the summer, but I'm just so proud of what happened this summer. We've had 13 students complete CCRI's CNA course over at Rhode Island Nursing Education Center. 10 of them finished their clinical before school started and will be taking the state CNA practical and written exams. We have 11 students that finished the first component of Central Firefighter, so this is cohort 2. They put in a ton of time and hot conditions over the summer, and they're now in EMT and Firefighter 2, and the EMT course that they're taking at Central this fall is taught by a CCRI professor. We had about 100 students at PCTA doing, the largest program was the PCTA Gen Con program that we travel up to the Laguna headquarters. So that's really special for the kids to be able to see kind of that campus and what's in store for them. We also had a combined carpentry, HVAC, plumbing program, which was really cool because the kids made plant stands with a hydration system. It was a lot of fun. And the automotive students stepped away from cars and they did small engine repair. And they repaired lawnmowers, and the instructor drove around stuff up off the curb that people were throwing out, snow blowers, leaf blowers, lawnmowers, and they repaired them during the summer. We had kids at McCute, had 13 kids earned 6 credits and another 3 earned 3 credits over the summer. And then we had a number of students doing summer internships, some of them with Parks and Rec, and so that's a new partner for us and a way for us to partner with the city. So you can see the summer, I should update this with the 23 outcomes. We do stipend our kids in the summer, so our student attendance was over 95% and always has been. We know that's because of the stipend, but that's a qualification. We're asking students to give up income and spend the summer with us so they do get a stipend. Internships, that last year we had 136 students do 100-hour paid internships. we're gonna lose the ability to pay, students over time just because of some of the funding streams that have been available to us that will no longer. My philosophy is students obviously can work for no pay. But if we have proven our value over the last few years to our employers, that the employers can start to pay the students. The employers are willing.
How much money?
We pay them 15 an hour for 100
I'm
hours,
saying for the program, do you have like
whatever we can get.
a?
So we get an allocation. We don't apply directly to the city of Providence. We partner with Multicultural Innovation Center or CAP. And they get the money and we get the kids and those two, they're fiscal agents for us and they pay the stipend. So whatever is available in the One Providence grant for summer employment.
Okay.
And then we work with the governor's workforce board, but again, through a fiscal agent, which has been CAP. And so CAP does the vetting and does the payroll or the stipends and we, we do the work with the employers and working with the students.
And
So we don't have the money doesn't pass through Providence.
do you know how much money was allocated this past summer? And it's okay. We did.
For
It's interesting.
City of Providence, I think we have 16 spots left to fill this summer. I think it was around 60,000. And Governor's Workforce Board, it was 40 internships, and it's a renewable grant. They cut us quite a bit because there's so many agencies across the state competing for that same funding bucket. So I would say probably 60,000 there too, so that, that,
Maybe like 100.
that allows us to do 100 of these internships.
Yeah.
And, we'd love to expand it. We do have some employers, particularly PCTA students who have a really high skill set. We do have some employers, especially in carpentry, that are paying the kids themselves. So that's great for us. We can come to restaurants and step in and pay the kids. But I would say from the employer standpoint, it's just they don't want to put them on the payroll. It takes so long to get them on the payroll for a 100-hour internship. So that's a barrier for us. So having a fiscal agent that will pay a stipend is great. We have a fiscal agent associated with the Providence School, so if we do get funding, we are able to pay. So we're not limited to those two funding sources, but we're not able to use ESSER funds for student stipends.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is that a
So
program through CCAP that you were talking about?
it's CAP.
There's a program,
There's a CCAP and a CAP.
there's a program through CCAP
Yeah.
right now, but while they're in school. And this is kind of what I was mentioning the other day, that, I don't know if I should say it publicly yet, but I will, I'll get in trouble. I talked with Brown University and the Catholic cemeteries again, and they are open to go back to the internships. And I've talked to Mr. Goyette about what we can, hours, how we could rotate. Your schedule being the way it is, their availability,
Yep.
we may have to look at maybe being able to move some stuff around if we can get employer commitments in the future, right? And there's monies to be paid for, first it starts with an 80-hour, they pay X amount, and then a 240-hour, which would get them the whole school year theoretically, but whatever would be lacking, what we would do is go to, so Brown University, we're not putting kids on construction projects, we're still not there yet, under 18, it's just not there right now. But we would entertain some of our other unions, and right now, once the city, the new contract and stuff gets worked out, I did talk to people at some of the departments within the city that would be willing to allow them to come, and we could work out the, not being union member thing, that was already streamlined, but Brown University would be willing to, so they're a big participant in pre-apprenticeship, building futures and apprenticeship on all their projects. So they would allow some of these individuals that meet certain criteria to go work with their facilities on the grounds while they're in school. Again, the scheduling piece, we'll have to figure out. So there is, I'm saying this year, we could probably do something on a small scale. I'm just waiting to see exactly, I have to find out the nuts and bolts. They said that anyone on free or reduced lunch would qualify for CCAP. So I'm sure that we would have a pretty good sizable candidate. pool candidate to pick from, and between the Catholic Cemetery and Brown University, I think we could get a lot of kids that definitely out of my program out there to start.
You should probably want to put that out there as soon as possible, because nobody's allowed to leave the building unless they're at a 97% attendance rate and on track for graduation. You know, right, employability skills, I hear you.
So
but
I
want
get
our
it,
kids-
but I can only put it once, I don't
Once
wanna
it's
make
public.
false promises,
Right,
so
exactly.
until we work out the
Yep.
details, I can tell you what we're doing right now.
Yeah,
At
no, I don't sit on it, but-
the school up the street, the charter school,
Yep.
is we're getting ready to kick this off in the next week, and they've gone and capitalized on this. So maybe we need to look at being able to entice, because 97% attendance, as an employer, I'd love to see that, but let's be a realist, and I don't know that we have it.
That's my evaluation tool. So that's what we learned today. That's what the principals are rate.
Mr. James Scott over there,
Yes.
97% attendance is,
So no student leaves the building until their grades and their attendance is checked. Their attendance goes down, they get a communication. So the carrot is wonderful, and that will keep them coming to school. I'm not disagreeing with you, I want to see it happen. But I want the kids to know, because tomorrow it starts 8/18, the chronic numbers are gonna go. In some schools, not all schools.
Love it, I mean, but that's the kind of
Well, it's a
partnerships.
carrot,
we
right.
need. Yeah,
That's
but
what we
those are
need,
the
but we
kind,
need
you know,
to tell the
because we
kids.
need those
Yeah.
funding sources and we need the partners who will.
I would explore that, and then we can look at what hurdles and what we need to get beyond, and if we can't make it work for this year, once we get the funding
Do a summer
mechanism and the
pilot.
partners in place, then we could definitely do it for, the juniors going into senior year over the summer, and then entice them to be able to continue to do it throughout their school year if their attendance and grades remain on par.
Love it.
That's what they need. That's what they need. They need the incentive. They need to know that there's something else out there besides going to college if they don't want to go to college, right out of high school. They need to know that that's there, and we don't have that yet, right?
Well, we have it if they want to meet all of the other stuff, but that's a conversation for another day. So we do have mechanisms in place to put people right to work in high-paying jobs.
Oh, yeah.
But this-
Right, not that.
Next page, the next objective is to make sure that non-CTE students, whether they apply to PCTA and weren't able to get in, or just realize later in their high school career that they want to explore opportunities that are not college or both. And so last year, and, we had a lot of ESSER funding, so these initiatives are, ESSER funded, but we'll find other funding sources. We ran an after-hours construction program for students from A Venture at Central. We had 8 students complete the program, and I think 7 of them got an invitation to join the Laborers Union, which is a phenomenal statistic. We are starting that program again. We had Vote for Next Gen cohorts. This is a program that Electric Vote put together, where students go 6 nights. You can see the 6 trades in that second bullet. Each night, they either go to New England Tech or Westerly Ed, and they get an introduction to one of these trades, and then we pull them into the application day for Electric Vote. We did a mini camp over at Newcomers and New Venture at Central with Rhode Island Hospitality. And then, thanks to Joe, we partnered with CCRI, and we were able to offer 28 students an expense-paid driver education course, so that the license, we need to knock down every single barrier that they have, particularly in the construction union. So we were able to get the driver's ed done for 28 students last year. And, as we go forward, we're looking to expand CTE programs in the redesigned school, but also pull redesigned schools, but pull more kids in. So not every student that we serve in CTE is going to be able to be a completer that is a spouse. If we have Judy has a seat in junior year, and we know that student can't do 3 years, we're still gonna put them in if they're a good candidate. And if we can find other ways to just, bring that pipeline together. Sometimes the students that haven't been in CTE are the hungriest ones out there, looking for that opportunity. They will come nights, they will come summers, they'll do whatever it takes to get into our And then lastly, we have, a sea perch underwater robotics curriculum. Actually, we've added a fifth middle school, so we have 5 middle schools. We have teachers that are trained. We paid a couple teachers over the summer to write a curriculum around the build. So they get the kits for the underwater robots, but then the 2 teachers, one from Green and one from Stewart, wrote a 90-day curriculum. And then we've also worked with Project Lead the Way, put 3 Project Lead the Way courses into middle schools: automation and robotics, computer science, medical detectives. What we hope is that we can then go back into those classrooms. Most of our recruiting at the middle school level is through the guidance team, and they're fabulous. But we'd also like to have teachers that are teaching these classes that are seeing students engaged and say, you should go to the engineering program. If you really have an interest in computer science, you should look at EQ and really try to match the passion of the student to some of the pipelines that we have. Medical detectives, you should go to the nursing program, or you should think about the biomed program at JSEC. We even have a pilot going with 2 elementary schools, doing very introductory manufacturing curriculum, and that's been great. And the students are getting introduced to welding by using cheese whiz, and they're doing sheet metal with tinfoil. You know, there's a lot of great stuff. They're learning some really good concepts there. That's it.
Thank you for that, and for the practice of overall, like, SWOT in terms of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. We'll keep it open in terms of like throwing out anything that's not on here that we should look at. Like, I would imagine opportunities could also be expansion of corporate partnerships. I would also say
Higher ed partnerships.
higher ed
Yeah.
partnerships. And for this, anyone can honestly toss out stuff, like,
Any category, I think we can.
yeah, any category, whatever you feel comfortable. I would say it seems like getting monthly funders, like I don't know if like through Brown Foundation or other look foundations out there. Should we money the CTE? Is there anything, any dollars committed that way?
Not at the present time, but
Under invest. Let me stop here. Any thoughts in any one of the 4?
I think right, that's,
Mhm.
there's a big picture, but it's the availability of instructors that want to get into CTE to actually teach CTE. It is very difficult for a teacher to come in and say, hey, I'm gonna drop everything and go teach.
So maybe just like a clarification, someone that definitely has the experience
Yes.
in a field coming in to actually teach.
Because typically, in order to be a certified CTE teacher, you usually need to have at least 5 years of industry experience. If you have 5 years of industry experience, you're typically making $120,000.
What else is out there? Anything? I heard a little bit about the attendance. Mark, do you want to talk a little bit more about that, or does that fall in this quadrant?
it's a threat.
There's so many factors behind the attendance that I don't think this is
Could be, yeah.
You're gonna be lessons.
Yep.
Dark times.
And that's why I think that maybe, and I know 97% standard, we need to try to look at, you know, the bigger issue, enticing them if there's issues beyond their control. And we know there's a lot of issues for attendance, being able to entice them with the job isn't gonna break all those barriers down. So we may need to, I'm not saying bend those rules, because as the employer, the 97% is a big deal. One of the biggest problems we have is, you know, attendance and being on time. So I think that if we can look to, you know, being able to maneuver around some of the obstacles like we did with the driver's license. We found a mechanism for funding. We couldn't find a place that would take the funding all in a one-shot deal where we could get it done. we put a few people in the room together, and within an hour, it was worked out, and we got all these kids, not just an opportunity to come to the laborers union, but independence in life. Having a driver's license, all they need to do is, and I know it's all they need to do at this table, but is to pay that fee every couple of years, and they have their independence forever. It's a big deal. Just that alone, otherwise they wouldn't have gotten. So, moving some of the barriers with the attendance stuff, because we can only do so much. And
And I think some of the attendance barriers are our kids that come to CTE are not, they're brilliant, but they're brilliant in a different way than the book smart that can read, the calculus book and take a test, and that's all they need to do is read it, right? CTE, we're brilliant in a different way. And we have to sit through all these, courses where we might actually be able to test out and spend more time on CTE and be more engaged in what we really want to learn. We don't give our students the opportunity to test out, not in all courses, but like to test out and to advance, or to, PCTA is held to the same standard, and I'm glad, so don't misinterpret me, as classical with the graduation requirements. But do all of our kids need to take 2 years of world language when they could really just test out of it and spend more time in CTE or something they enjoy, which might, look at that, because we
Yeah.
don't do that.
And Andrea, I think this is something that we want to be able to get research on these CTE policies, what's going on around attendance. What we're doing is there something that Providence is doing is more of a hindrance compared to other programs out there.
I know a lot of the graduation requirements are mostly state law kind of things, but like you said, I would be interested to look specifically into language. I don't see why the student couldn't test out of that, but yeah.
the more time, I agree with the more time that they're spending on what brought them to that school, the more engaged they're gonna be, and the more
But right, because these students are specifically picking.
wanna learn with their hands.
Is
They
it-
chose to be
And the
there.
regional
In
codes in
Massachusetts,
Massachusetts, it's
is it math, the fourth year of math done in the CTE area?
can be,
Can
it's
be.
only 3, that's usually,
I mean, that's huge,
History?
that's a whole,
but all the regional vocational schools in Massachusetts, the world language is waived. You can take it, they all offer it, but if that's the route that you choose to go, so. Rhode Island is looking with the new graduation requirements at proficiency and, as opposed to seat time. So there's new graduation requirements added on, but with the caveat that they can be by proficiency. So if it's financial literacy, you don't necessarily have to sit in a 90-day class. You just have to meet one of these metrics, and it might be an assessment. So, I think to Judy's point, we have to think about that as an opportunity. How can we get creative with the graduation requirements so that students don't have, if you think of a junior or a senior at PCTA, 50% of their instructional time is spent in their CTE. So to ask them to do all the other things that every other student across the city does is a lot and not sustainable for them. So we have to find that balance. And I think that's where Andrew is going to be helpful, is like finding what policy modifications and the ability to prove your competency as opposed to sitting in class for a certain number of hours is where we need to go.
What else is there on these 4 quadrants? Also happy to take an email after an offline conversation. So that it doesn't have to be tonight. And I think if we can send this out to everyone, the folks that haven't been here, just ask if they want to email their feedback on this swap. I think it'd be great. Anything else before I move on?
I did mention the opportunity we're doing with tech, but as of today, we have 6 students from Providence, 3 from PCTA, 1 from Central, and 2 from Alvarez that were accepted to tech. They are seniors who are going to be their freshmen. They're fully released from their high schools as of Monday, and they're going to get their first year of the associate's program done as they complete their high school senior year. 1 is in HVAC, 2 are in auto, and 3 are in the tech. So that's really exciting for us. We've had a long-standing partnership with CCRI, and it's primarily academic courses. They are going directly into a major, and they have, they're still debating a few, but they are awarding credit to the students from auto and HVAC based on their experience at the CTE. So they're actually entering with credits on their transcript. And then at the end of this year, they will be full-fledged sophomores in tech. So that's a new partnership for us that is a CTE higher ed partnership. We're excited about that.
Okay, if we're done with SWOT, on the CTE survey, I think this would be also a quick agenda item. I was just looking for a couple of points that we should ask students, and also what would be like an appropriate timeline. Like what would be the mechanism, like what would be the questions we would ask students? What would be the appropriate, what would be the questions, what would be the appropriate mechanism to get this out to students? Is it like a Google survey, a paper survey? And the sort of timeline on that. And again, just looking to get student, direct student data, support, what have you, to add into whatever we're going to be doing first year. Does that make sense? Yeah. And I think it's always nice to just, involve, whatever students have to say about CTE program. So what would be some of the things that we could ask them? That would be helpful for us to just know as a community, as a community at the school. Could be around attendance barriers.
I would ask, just a big question, what the skills that you learned in your CTE class transferable to the actual job that you are engaging in right now, or ultimately Wednesday. So I'd like to know if what we're actually doing in the classroom is translated to the real world.
How did the program prepare you as well? It's probably similar to what you asked, if you're using the skills, or how did you get prepared for the career path you wanted through the program?
That's what you wish you would have done differently, or we would have done differently when you were in class. You wanted to prepare, if you did it.
There's also no right or wrong suggestions.
I think how committed are you to a career? Like if you're talking to sophomores and juniors who maybe haven't been out, like how committed are you to a career in the field that you're studying, and why? Like maybe a 1 to 10, but then why do you say that? If you said 2, what has changed your mind, or if you said 10, like what has been a factor? Is it teachers? Is it the hands-on activities that you've done? Is it the field trips you've gone on? Like what has made that number happen?
But why did you pick this program?
Yeah.
And secondary to that question, do you have regrets? Are you still engaged in this? So, when they pick, when you make that selection, you do it based on what, a half of a year? You do some exploration.
8th grade.
8th grade, so they don't really know much then,
They don't know
right?
much at all.
So they've seen pictures and this, so they make this selection as an 8th grader, and this is, and when you say it out loud, you stop and think of the mentality of an 8th grader, and we're asking them to decide a path for the next 4 years of where they think their next 30 years could be. That scares me.
Yeah, I can't even do that now.
That scares me, and I've been in my profession for 23 years with this organization, and that scares me to think about that. So think about how intimidating that is for an 8th grader. And then I think to follow up with the question, what made you select that? Was it you knew someone who went through that, you know someone in that industry, what interests you? But then, maybe this survey goes out each year, and you see the different answers, the same questions, but you see the different answers, like, are you still engaged in the program? Do you have regrets? Would you have picked, knowing now, 9th grade, 10th grade, each time we ask it, would you have chosen a different program to be in? And if the answer to that is yes, then I think we need to come up with a whole another set of drop-down questions. If they answer yes to that question, they would have picked a different program. Why? what misinformation did we give you in 8th grade to get you to come to this program? Or what did the program not do for you that makes you not want to be there? So maybe instead of changing their minds, being able to better inform them in 8th grade, or maybe being able to do more things so they can make a better, again, talking about 8th grade kids, thinking about
Their future.
down the line, I mean, is tough, so I think focusing on what made them, what drew them to it, so we know what's working in what programs, was it the career on the other end? Was it a friend went, we're gonna get a whole variety of different answers, but then we can get into the weeds on, okay, where are you now? And we could even do a pre-survey before they start the 8th grade, but then you see their answers as they go through the program year after year, and hopefully, you get positive feedback by the senior year. I thank God I stayed with it, and here I am now, X, Y, and Z on the path.
I like that.
I think we have to do it electronically because to
Electronic.
this point, like for Survey Monkey, you could say, so all the kids that answered yes to this question, what percentage of them are in 11th grade? Or, we can look at different slice and dice. Like it'd be fun to sit here and slice and dice it by grade, by gender, by school, by program. We can look at a lot of different things.
And I guess I should have asked, like, is there any type of data we're collecting on all these topics we're talking about around CTE students? I guess would be like a new
I think
data
there's
collection.
I mean, there's
Okay, I
exit
just-
surveys that the district does, but not specific to CTE.
I don't think it gets into
We
the
do.
weeds like this. It's
Yeah.
more an exit look, so would you think, would you learn, kind of like the
Yeah.
typical type of thing?
Yeah.
But this is like, what drew you to this?
Yeah.
Mhm.
How did we get here?
Mhm.
Right? So now if we know how we got here, and then you see that person as a senior, and they say, no, I would have never done that, I would have gone somewhere, well, why? Because I didn't realize that, say, my program, I really didn't realize that I would have to go and be on a jackhammer or go be pouring concrete. So maybe we need to be a little more informative of what we're telling them and give them a little more reality. Maybe it's that 8th grade field trip to the paths that they're gonna be in, like my place or wherever.
Yeah.
So, that would help us improve on keeping the interest, keeping the attendance that's in their control up. Because if they're engaged, as we know, when you're engaged in something, you look forward to it, you wanna go to it.
For,
I think
no, you go.
one of the questions needs to be, what are you doing after high school?
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, what's your plan?
That one right
See how
there.
that changes 9, 10, 11, 12?
Yeah.
I have 3 years of data of essays by student IEP. So I think someone really smart, looking at Andrea. But like we ask them, they get interviewed by the instructors. And so those questions that you're talking about, the instructors say, like, why are you here? Like, is it because you have an aunt, uncle in the field or whatever? But we also have 2 essays that they write in January of their 8th grade year. One is, why do you want to do CTE generally? And then why did you pick your number 1 choice? So we could actually go back to that data once we get this new data and see, like, so now we have data for the kids that are now juniors. We could actually see the essay that they wrote in 8th grade and see, like, if it was because of a family member, like, what do they answer now? It'd be really cool, but we would need a data person and, a team of people to kind of look at that data, but that would be really interesting. I don't have so much quantitative data from 8th grade. I mean, I know what score they got on our rubric that I'm about to present. So that would also be interesting, because if the kids that come into PCTA or Central or whatever with 90s and higher on our rubric, are they more successful? Because if they're not, then the rubric isn't measuring the candidate that we want. If we're seeing those kids that are 90 and higher as juniors, like successful, saying they want to go into the field, then our rubric is working. Or our rubric is aligned to the kind of candidate we want to get. So we could do a lot if we had, the right data analysis happening.
For our target students, as I'm hearing all of this sounds more of a survey that we're crafting for maybe juniors and seniors currently.
I think so, but why not ask them all 4
I
years?
think we can
Gather
stop,
the
like,
data.
to catch up to maybe Brett's point. She has some data with some current students now. We could really capture from 8th grade to senior year. If we just rolled it out this year with seniors and juniors, And then we could just start rolling it backwards, so now we have that data with everybody, and from 8th grade, kind of vanilla questions, why'd you pick this? What's, they're not gonna, the answer's gonna be very mild, they're not gonna have much context, and hopefully each year we let them fill it out as they're completing as part of the end of the year project or whatever, they fill that out, and you can see the level of engagement. But not only does it allow us to track data together and see how we can do better, but it allows us to make some corrective action for the following school year. If you're getting a lot of people in that class that shop that are saying, no, I won't have picked this because, and they all have the same complaint, they're not learning what they thought, and it's all typical, then we know we need to go back and kind of change some of what we're instructing or how we're instructing it, or who's instructing it in some cases, right? So I think it would be helpful to correct problems like immediately, not just to get historical data as to why they picked programs and how successful they were. We can make game time decisions for the next year with these surveys,
Yep.
once we're really capturing all of the stuff.
Right?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if we have the CTE instructor support, it's a pretty easy thing to do. They can put it on the classrooms and, just, they can make it a quiz grade or, that we can ask them to help us get a high percentage return. Kids get surveyed a lot in the Providence public schools, but, there's some fatigue there. But I think if we told the instructors, like, we need this data to inform what we're doing, I think that we have a really good group of instructors. I think they see the support, like they see this committee being more, I think the instructors are feeling pretty good as a group right now, so I think they would help us because they know that we're trying to better their programs and support their programs. So it would have to come through the CTE instructors, and they have to help us get a percentage of their kids to do so.
Yeah, and again, what we're looking to do with the survey is really just be of help, right? And just getting that student feedback so we can create better programs. But also, I want to get to a point where, I would imagine we're going to get a lot of positive stories that we can tell from the survey.
Yeah.
And be like, this is the student feedback. We already know that these students are getting good quality jobs outside of high school. Hence why you should invest more into CTE programs. So that's what I'm hoping to make the case. Along with your point too, there's some stuff that we're seeing that we could fix in the district, then we can do that because we're getting the student feedback. Any other points on here? I'll say again, if any other ideas pop up, feel free to email them after.
I would ask Judy and Lester in terms of timing.
Oh, yeah.
What would be the least intrusive? When I was a principal, October was the best month of the year because it was not holiday, it wasn't the start of school, but then in the spring, there's so many surveys and things. What would be the best timing, even if we can't do it this year, for something like this to come out to get the highest return and attention to it? If we're throwing it out and there's 5 other things happening that week, we're going to get not a good response rate or engagement.
The surveys,
Yeah, I'm just wondering, timing wise, is October the right time? Is February the right time?
my opinion would be when they capture that whole year.
Oh, in June.
So the seniors, we're not gonna be able to make many changes relative to the senior year, no matter when they do it, but maybe not necessarily in June, but maybe we pick a day like signing day, May 1st, and we're not doing the signing day, we're doing survey day. College has signing day, we're gonna do survey day because we want to sign you, so we wanna keep you engaged, and in order to get you to the finish line to where you're gonna have your signing day next year or the year after,
We need your
you
feedback.
do something and we make it a uniform day. That's gonna work for whatever's instruction, whatever's going on in one day out of the year, and try to get them to do that survey and let the instructors do something fun around it. It's not gonna take an all-day thing, but do it and then maybe let them have a little dialogue about it in the class and the kids be able to express as they're a little older, maybe not, 9th grade, but maybe.
I agree. I agree. Should all be the same thing.
And to highlight that May Day, we could do it, November's National Apprenticeship Month. So a lot of these pathway programs leading to apprenticeship programs. So we could highlight National Apprenticeship Week, which anything you do throughout the month, the government recognizes as an apprenticeship activity. So we could do it at some point in November. That would be good, because it
Get a
would
lot of
also go
emails
up on the,
circulating about that.
it would go on the, all of the states and government websites. The city of Providence, CTE, to recognize Apprenticeship Week, they're doing, a pre-apprentice survey. And any CTE program falls under apprenticeship,
Absolutely.
really.
I like that idea.
What do you think?
I wish we had more, and I know the age and the responsibility and everything, but I think if we could get the eighth, it's just so hard. Our kids are picking these pathways because, and like you said, they don't, I don't know, I want to do that entire either, you know what I mean? But like, what are they don't know what they're picking, And I talked to a culinary student the other day, and I'm like, yeah, I can't wait to start cooking fish. I love seafood. He goes, fish? I don't, and we're just, ever since they took out, like, I know I'm 100 years old, but the industrial arts program, home economic programs in the middle school, so these kids have the opportunity just to test something, just to see if they like,
To carry around the egg as the baby?
Oh my God, we did that.
Yeah, we did it too. But that was all, that was one semester. You had to have the egg for so long. You had to homework, and I had to learn how to sew when I was in middle school. You had to do all that. You had to do all that stuff. So you got exposure. You at least got some hands-on exposure to the stuff that now high school you can make up. I really love the cooking piece. We did the cooking thing and different things. That would be great. If not, maybe we could come up with each track that we have, and we could just start at PCTA and expand from there, is coming up with some kind of a video with your industry partner, whether it's electric pole, the electricians union, anyone that's at the table that has interest in the program, and kind of giving them an informative video on each program.
What about a summer camp for 6th, 7th, and 8th graders so that they can really get experience? Like BCTA's Fieldhouse is with the rec center summer camp the entire summer. You can't get in there, and there's a lot of kids. And that's great exercise. They're learning team building. They're learning, everything. But why can't we use our CTE programs as summer camps for exposure? The parents would love it because they'd have a free summer camp, right? We probably could get our own teachers because they're burnt out by the time the summer comes. But we could get somebody to run a mini culinary camp, a mini general construction camp.
Absolutely.
Craft labor, excuse me.
It's good.
Carpentry, HVAC, right? Construction, or even did
Exploratory.
yeah, like an exploratory, like a construction trades exploratory,
Half day here.
and stuff like that. And
Carpentry does that.
let them come through, get
It was like
exposure
6th and 7th grade.
Really?
before they
Yeah.
pick.
So they have to pick by end of 8th grade, right?
They pick now, they pick in December.
Yeah, so 6th and 7th grade are the kids that we need to see in the summer. So the next year they go.
Right. The 7th, 8th grade summer is, in between 7th and 8th grade is the time for people.
The past 2
The
years.
kids finished basketball 15 minutes ago. I'm so sorry.
No, no,
Thanks,
thank
Good
Bill.
to see you.
I want to catch up with you in the next couple of weeks. I've been talking to Mr. Goyette. We'll talk offline. Sorry, guys. Thank you. We'll talk soon.
Okay.
Nice to meet you all.
For the last 2 years, I ran a program with the 7th graders in June where they come to PCTA, one middle school a week. One middle school a day for about a week, 7 days, right? There's 7 middle schools.
Yeah.
And it's expensive because the busing comes out of PCTA's budget. And man, is it hard to recognize, right? But I don't know if I can even do it this year because of funding. I don't know if I'll have that bus funding to do it, to get all those kids. We would take up to 200 middle school kids and bring them through, and every middle school teacher, guidance counselor was there, was like, this is fast, this is great, this is good for our kids. So at least when they go to the 8th grade to pick, they have a little something in the back of their head, But we need more of just exposure, even if it was a 2 week, that's not enough. Like, you did it for a month, and the kids spent maybe 3 days, 4 days, and they picked 5 programs or something like that. And now that we have multiple CTE teachers from multiple areas, we probably could find, even if we could find a teacher that would do the first 3 days, another one would do different days. But we lose kids sometimes because they just miss the lottery. I mean, the phone calls and the emails that I get are heartbreaking. Yes, I need to get through school. You don't understand. I want to be a chef, or I want to be a cosmetologist, or I want to be an electrician, and I can't get them in. You know, and the kid in front of them, a student, whatever, perfect attendance, a student, they're going to be a doctor, but they're in the electrical program because they can get to pieces. And that's a tribute to Mr. Porsche, I have to say. All his years there as a good principal, hopefully taught me everything I need to know to keep the school going. Created that culture and that environment of a great school. So.
No, that's a solid idea, and also, yeah.
I mean, all we need is funding for teacher salaries. I mean, all the tech areas have leftover supplies. I mean, I don't know if that's across the departments, if we can do that, but they all have enough supplies left over to run a 2 to 4 week.
Yeah, I've been attending those like bi-weekly meetings with the summer school team, and they're expanding programming and kind of changing it every year. So I think our next one's next week, and I'll definitely bring it up and see like if there's interest there, how it would work. Because also they did mention like doing like these shorter, more exploratory things for like sports. So I don't see why it couldn't work for CTE, especially middle school.
Yeah. Maybe it's something where, you know, seeing the list of companies there, 15 companies, maybe it's something where you pilot, if we really like to pilot something like next summer with a small group of students, 25, 50 students, and see how that, something small, see how that goes, learn from it. Yeah. This is why this is important, right? Because that idea might be able to stretch into something like that much programs. I'm a big advocate for some programs actually just expanding the school year in general. Something like that. But that's interesting. So I recognize that we're close to 7 o'clock. Policy goes to 2023, 2024. I think we're there. Maybe high level.
I'll high level it,
Yeah.
and then people can take it home.
Yeah.
I think the 2 policies that we want the group to take a look at, and Andrea is doing research on, are the recruiting and admissions. So the recruiting policy does speak, I think I talked to a little bit to the rubric that we have developed. It is primarily targeting PCTA because that's where we see more requests and seats. But eventually, as these other programs build out, it will be for all of the programs. But this is our process. These are the components. This is the timeline. This was really designed to address what Judy said, is that it is expensive, and it is a whole citywide effort to get students into high wage, high growth industries. And so we need to get the right kid in the right seat. It is important. So it's not that we're against a student sitting in electrical that wants to be a doctor, but that's not where we want to invest that amount of money. So, and as I look at the student weighted funding formula, we have to look at what we're investing in these programs and then making sure that students have, that the students that want to be in that industry are getting priority on the seat. So that was the spirit of this rubric, was to make this less about grades and attendance and more about the passion that the student shows in writing and the passion that the student shows in the interview, and relying a lot on those 8th grade guidance counselors who know these kids really well. And we think that Travis is really committed to this, and we think he would be, we have a question about would Travis follow the safety protocols of that program, but do you see an interest beyond just PCTA and in that program? So we asked the guidance counselor. So that's the rubric. We'd love to get your feedback. The timing is tough, as Judy said. We're asking this to happen in the middle of the 8th grade year. We have a very full season ahead. We have the high school choice we have high school expo, we have the school choice fair, we have several recruiting events at all of the redesigned schools. We are going to have a huge presence at the JA, and I hope you guys can come at least one of the 3 days to the JA Career Expo at the Convention Center. It's 3 days in November. We will be there, but so will all the industries. There's an aisle for every industry, so that's where every eighth grader in Providence will attend that. So and then we have a parent night in January to answer questions. So we have a lot of recruiting. To your point about videos, Ariel has done some fabulous videos of the firefighter program, of the CNA program, the PCTA, and the electrical signing day. So we're getting that stuff, we're getting that material out there for families to see, but we can never do enough. So the reason that we have to cut off applications in January is because all of these seats are taken out of the school choice process, so that this is completed before school choice. So we'd love, I know it's close to 7, we'd love for you to look at this. The second thing
So
that's,
this is the revised
This
policy
is the
for
policy.
application.
it was revised in 2021.
Okay.
So I looked at the policy when I started, and then we had a new administration and kind of went through that administration, so it's a revised
Okay,
policy.
so this is the existing policy.
This is the existing, this
Yeah.
is current.
But the goal is to try to improve for
I
this.
think if it's necessary to improve it, I think Andrea maybe at the next meeting presenting like how it compares to other CTE.
And I think
What you've been
too,
doing.
it's also not, even if we don't change it a lot, it needs to be codified because it's not in the policy manual or hasn't been run by the school board yet, so it's codification.
I don't know
Is
the
there
last
an
time
ex-
it went through the school board, like, I
And
don't know.
it's not in our
if
manual,
ever-
so I don't think ever.
Is there an exit policy?
No, that's a great point, so that would be something that we work on.
And I only say that because when a student does not want any CTE area at PCTA, it's impossible to meet the students. That's not because of the behavior or attendance or grades. It's just they don't want CTE, they don't want to cook, they don't want to do construction. And
But they want to be there in the building.
there's some, very few like that, but there were also some that don't want to be there, but the parents want them there. And they do everything to self-sabotage their grades and their attendance. And I can't take the next kid off the list and get them in the school that they want. So, I mean, where is the equity and fairness and how do you write a policy? So you don't hurt a kid. But if they don't want to be there and they're not doing the graduation requirements, are we doing them? Or are
That's fair.
So that might be something before it goes to policy committee that we draft. And then secondly, here is the workplace learning policy. It's pretty much in line with the state. And so I don't know that there would need to be a ton of, and I can send you guys this as a live link. You can see the policies for RIDE, PRI, and the Governor's Workforce Board. They're linked in. So I can send you this electronically so you can look at kind of the policies that have been developed, but we're following the policies that RIDE has set forth. But I think to Andrew's point, it's important that it goes to the school committee so that everyone is aware of what we're doing in workplace learning and how we're vetting students and how they're being matched with employers and how we're monitoring this.
I think potentially keeping, well, maybe like just update like policy goals, so if they continue to agenda item sounds appropriate, until we like check that off and either codify it or.
Yeah, I think by next meeting, I can have it like kind of translated into the actual format that it needs to be in with like some edits, then we can have like an active working discussion or more changes.
Yeah, that sounds really good. Because there's a lot of stuff in here that wouldn't be part of the policy.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
more procedure, so we want to keep it very simple, we don't want to overwhelm the board with all the details. The timeline isn't really policy as much as it is the just coordinate with the district timeline for admissions.
Anything else? Again, thank you all for your time here today. All right, so it says the next meeting is October 4th, as the policy committee, is not the CTE committee. Next meeting is, I think, scheduled for
It's October, 25th, I believe.
25th.
Yes.
And just as FYI, the November 30th meeting, I will have to move that, so I'll look to.
I have a conflict with the 20th.
Oh, yeah, the confidence.
Yeah, but you know, it doesn't mean that he's also doing it. So might be, you know, it doesn't need, I don't need to be here, but if you want me here, we may need.
Yeah,
We
let's
can discuss
make
that
sure
by
we do
email.
that. So we might have to just amend our October and November meeting schedule, which will make our priority work. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Second.
Second, thank you. Any discussion on adjourning? No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion passed. Thank you. You all have a good night. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Travis.
Yes, thank you.
So I don't know how many things you guys want to be able to I can start, you know, some of the things that I mentioned that, you know, I can just pop them on
We
the
should try to be
calendar,
where
but-
we, where we feel like we need to be.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, need to be in like the Rhode Island
Actually,
one, the convention center, it was 3 days.
But